Walk into the prepared foods section of almost any supermarket today. The shelves are packed with marinated barbecue meats, sweet breakfast cereals, flavored sauces, and endless processed snacks. You can fill an entire cart in minutes. We've become so used to eating richly seasoned, highly satisfying food whenever we want that many people can't imagine a meal without heavy fats or sugar. But millions of years ago, our ancestors didn't have the luxury of choosing what tasted good. Archaeological discoveries from caves across Africa and Europe completely overturn everything most people think they know about prehistoric diets. And what you're about to hear may challenge your assumptions, or even make you a little uncomfortable. Forget what documentaries often show. The earliest humans weren't mighty hunters dominating the landscape. On the African savanna, lions brought down antelope first, devouring the tender muscles and organs. Hyenas followed behind, crushing cartilage and tearing apart the hide. By the time every predator had finished eating, our ancestors were left with little more than a few massive leg bones too thick to bite through. Their greatest feast was hidden inside those bones. Holding rough stone tools, early humans smashed open the femurs. Sticky, grayish-yellow marrow, rich with fat and calories, spilled out. They scooped it out with their hands and ate it raw. Most carnivores couldn't break through thick animal bones. Humans could. With dexterous hands and simple stone tools, they gained exclusive access to one of nature's richest sources of energy. And marrow wasn't the only treasure. Cracked skulls were valuable too. Inside a single skull was nearly a pound of fatty brain tissue. In a world where food was scarce, that was premium nutrition. White termites, worms, and beetle larvae were also everyday staples. Crunchy and surprisingly rich in nutrients, they weren't emergency food. They were regular meals. This scavenger lifestyle lasted for more than 1,000,000 years. Generation after generation repeated the same routine, searching for scraps wherever they could find them. Then, everything changed. The turning point was fire. In a South African cave, archaeologists discovered evidence of controlled fire dating back roughly 1,000,000 years. For the first time, humans learned how to harness flames. Animal meat roasted over a fire, roots and tubers baked beneath hot ash, bones heated directly in glowing coals. The age of cooked food had begun. Cooking is essentially digestion outside the body. Raw food requires enormous effort from the digestive system. Heat breaks food down in advance, making nutrients easier to absorb and dramatically increasing the calories humans can extract. As digestion became easier, energy once spent on the gut became available for something else: the brain. The human brain makes up only about 2% of our body weight, yet it consumes roughly 20% of our energy. Without cooked food, the evolution of the modern human brain may never have been possible. Around this same period, humans began experimenting with wild grains. The seeds of wild grasses were tiny, hard, and difficult to digest. At first, they were little more than emergency food. People gathered wild wheat and grass seeds, roasted them, crushed them, and ate them. It was the earliest stage of grain domestication. Over countless generations, humans deliberately saved seeds that were larger, fuller, and easier to harvest. That slow process laid the foundation for agriculture thousands of years later. Many people imagine prehistoric food as bland and flavorless, but ancient humans actively searched for natural seasonings. Spicy herbs, tart berries, salt-rich mud, even animal blood. These were used to mask unpleasant odors and add variety to meals. After bringing down large prey, people sometimes coated meat with plant juices before roasting it to improve the flavor and reduce spoilage. By around 300,000 years ago, humans looked remarkably similar to us, and their menu had expanded across entire continents. On open plains, they hunted mammoths, bison, wild horses, and reindeer. Along rivers, they caught fish and gathered shellfish. They dug up roots, collected fruits, nuts, and mushrooms. They stole bird eggs. And they relentlessly searched for wild honey. Even today, the Hadza people of Tanzania continue a traditional hunter-gatherer lifestyle. Around 15% of their daily calories come from wild honey. They climb dangerous trees and endure repeated bee stings in search of hives. Because honey is one of the most efficient sources of energy in nature. And that's exactly why modern humans crave sweets so intensely. The roots of that craving stretch back millions of years. In the prehistoric world, sugar meant immediate energy. Any excess calories could be stored as fat. And during famine, that fat could mean survival. Our brains evolved to seek sugar, but our bodies can't tell the difference between wild honey hidden in a tree hollow and the sugar packed into donuts, soda, and candy. Most processed foods on store shelves are essentially different forms of added sugar, wrapped in attractive packaging. When you keep reaching for them, it's not just a lack of willpower, it's a survival program written deep into your genes. The same is true for meat. A single mammoth could feed an entire group for weeks. Successfully hunting a large animal eliminated countless hours of gathering, digging, and searching for food. That extra time could be spent making tools, raising children, and passing on survival knowledge. Part of our modern attraction to meat traces back to that ancient advantage. Most people readily admit their cravings for sugar and meat, but there's another instinct buried deep within human history that many would rather not think about. In Gough's cave in Britain, archaeologists uncovered human remains dating back about 14,700 years. The evidence was chilling. Skulls had been carefully modified with stone tools. Facial bones were removed. The tops of skulls were shaped into bowls. Long bones from arms and legs had been shattered in exactly the same way people once broke bones to extract marrow. And here's the most surprising part. The cave also contained abundant remains of horses, deer, and other prey animals. Food was plentiful. There was no famine. This wasn't desperate survival. It appears to have been a ritual with deeper cultural meaning. A 2017 analysis found that the calories available from a human body are far lower than those from large animals like bison or mammoths. From a purely nutritional standpoint, eating other humans made little sense. Some forearm bones even contained deliberate zigzag carvings added after the flesh had been removed. And Britain wasn't unique. Similar evidence has been found at prehistoric sites across Germany, France, Spain, and Croatia, spanning hundreds of thousands of years. Cannibalism wasn't the only ancient food practice modern people might find disturbing. There was another one. People intentionally stored rotting meat. A single successful hunt often produced more food than could be eaten immediately. So meat was buried in the ground, hidden in cold caves, or submerged in chilly streams for weeks or even months. When it was finally retrieved, it was crawling with maggots and gave off an overwhelming smell of decay. Yet people ate it anyway. Some may have even preferred it. Bacteria had already begun breaking down the meat. The fibers became softer, digestion became easier, and the process produced important B vitamins needed by the human body. That ancient logic never disappeared. It evolved into something familiar: cheese, yogurt, sourdough bread, beer, wine, pickled vegetables, soy sauce. All of them are, in a sense, carefully controlled and safe forms of decomposition. Our love of fermented flavors didn't begin in modern kitchens. Its roots may reach back to ancient grasslands where humans survived by eating aged and partially decomposed food. That preference for savory, tangy, fermented flavors may be one more gift inherited from our ancestors. Even today, our bodies still carry survival instincts forged millions of years ago. We store fat aggressively. We chase sugar. We crave calorie-dense food. And we're naturally drawn to fermented flavors. The problem is that the world those instincts evolved for no longer exists. Refrigerators are everywhere. Supermarkets are stocked year-round. Food is abundant. We no longer need to store energy for the next famine. But evolution doesn't change overnight. That late-night urge to raid the fridge, the inability to resist sweets, the feeling that a meal isn't complete without meat, those are ancient survival programs still running inside a modern body. If you dropped an average person into the wilderness of 50,000 years ago, they probably wouldn't last long. They wouldn't know which plants were safe to eat. They wouldn't have the strength to climb, hunt, or crack open animal bones. They might not even find clean water. Food would be everywhere, yet most of it would be completely inaccessible. Now imagine the reverse. Imagine bringing a prehistoric human into a modern supermarket. They would think they'd stumbled into the food stores of the gods. Sweet soda sealed inside metal cans, mass-produced bread, dairy products that stay fresh for weeks, fruit transported across entire continents. No dangerous hunts, no bee stings, no uncertainty, just endless access to high-calorie food. For millions of years, humanity lived with hunger, cold, exhaustion, and constant uncertainty. Our generation may be among the first in human history that doesn't have to fight every day simply to stay fed. And that privilege is far rarer than most of us realize. From scavenging bone marrow from abandoned carcasses, to mastering fire, to cultivating grains, to discovering natural seasonings, to developing the cravings etched into our DNA, every human food preference was shaped by brutal tests of survival. Every snack you eat, every sugary drink, every piece of grilled meat carries the legacy of a journey that began more than 3 million years ago.